Hello crime sceners. I know I'm not pumping out these videos as fast as I would like, but I have redone this one quite a few times and it was just going around in circles like they usually do. So let's get back to the basics and look at the actual forensic evidence again. Now I've put this picture up so we can kind of go over this again. It's pretty obvious that this is where it all started. Since all of the blood is down the bottom of the wall close to the floor, it probably means that the first stab caused her to fall down. So I was thinking we might be able to figure out which room she was coming out of or going into based on this. There was a hole in Nanette's bedroom door which appeared to be from the boots she was wearing that day. The angle that it was on makes it seem like her foot was pointing downwards on a 45-degree angle. Her heels had the round bit at the back, and so do mine. So I did a little experiment to see where she would have been when she kicked the door. According to the coroner's report, it was 190 millimeters above the floor. Okay, so here's my little experiment with the shoe print in the door, just to see where Nanette may have been when she kicked the hole in the door. Now, they said it was 190 mils from the floor, so that's where I've written 190 mils. I've done this on a whiteboard so I don't have to draw on my wall. That is a pretty good indication of what the hole in the wall looked like, with the straight line, then the curved kind of heel bit there. It's not exactly, I'm sure, because the photo that they took was on an angle from the door, so it looks pretty right to me anyway. I'm not the best drawer, but that's kind of what it looked like as the hole in the door. So I have got these boots on. They're not exactly like Nanette's, but they do have the same kind of heel. If you can see, they're straight there and then they kind of go roundish there. So we don't know if it was her left heel or her right heel that went through the door, so we're just going to try both. So if I'm lying on my back here, as you can see, my feet are pointing up. Okay, if I'm lying on my back and I use my left heel or my right heel, obviously the straight bit is up that side and the round bit is down this side. So there's no way that she made this hole in the door while she was on her back. So that means she must have been, and I'm just rolling over now, so ignore the grunting and groaning. Okay, that is how she had to have been. Now I'm on my side at the moment. Now that definitely could have been kicked if she was on the side, although it's quite awkward. If I'm on my stomach, then does that match up? Or that matches up? Yep. I'm absolutely on my stomach right now. So I'm guessing that Nanette was face down when she made this hole in the wall. So the hallway in my house is very similar to Nanette's. In fact, the two doors where Nanette was initially attacked are identical in my house. I've got the door at the end of the hallway and the one on the side there. So I checked where I'd have to be to create the same hole in the door. And the only way I could give it a good kick was on my stomach, a little bit on my side, not totally flat on my stomach, but mainly on my stomach, but with my head here and my legs here, which fits the forensics, right? That makes sense. So then I checked where I'd have to be to fall and land in the position where I would have my head here. And I could have been coming out of either room, so that's not very helpful. Until you realise that if I were coming out of the boys' room there and I fell like that, I would have had a hell of a time moving my body around to then be able to kick the door. It was such a tight fit in the doorway to move my body around to the kicking position without getting up. And all the blood is pretty low to the ground, so I'm thinking she didn't get up. And if she was kicking the door hard enough to create a hole, it was probably because she was fighting. You don't just kick the door because somebody has stabbed you, you kick it because you're fighting. So I'm assuming they were on top of her, or there'd be no reason to kick out like that. So I think she must have been coming out of her room when she was attacked. Now, I know people are going to mention the pantyhose and the blood on the wardrobe here and the fact that there's no blood in Nanette's room. But she could have put the pantyhose down in that room before she was attacked, and the blood on the wardrobe could have come from her being stabbed the second time while she was on the ground here. We know she was attacked from behind, so she would have gone down on her stomach. Do you think the killer would have given her the opportunity to roll over? No, because she was stabbed from behind the second time and then in the top of her head. I don't think she was ever on her back. I think she was face down the whole time, and I don't see her being able to move around in that position in order to kick the door if she went down from that boy's room. I also stood in what would have been Nanette's room and threw myself down as if I'd been stabbed from behind to see where I would have been standing, and I was a little bit inside the door, about there. But I'm 5'2". If Nanette modelled, I have to think she was taller than me, which would have meant she was a little further in. As for the lack of blood spatter, the report says the first stab made her bleed inside. So maybe that's why there's no spatter there. I don't know. I'm in no way a forensics expert, so this is all guessing. If you are an expert, let me know in the comments if there would be any gushing. Do all stab wounds gush? I have to think not, because I actually have been stabbed before and there was no gushing. And I have to think that most of you out there have cut your fingers before, cooking or whatnot. Did it gush? Did it create spatter? Might have to hunt down an expert on this actually. But for now, I have to think she was coming out of her bedroom when she was attacked. So what does this mean? That means the killer had to be in her room. And if they were in her room, she knew them. That kind of fits with the radio too, because if they were both in her room and she turned around to walk out, the killer could have easily turned up the radio then attacked. But wait, there's more. Now that I'm thinking that she knew her killer and was voluntarily in the room with them, there's another tiny spanner thrown into the works. It does appear from the photos that her wardrobe door was open. Her wardrobe was right there. Was he hiding in there? Once again, he could have turned up the radio and attacked her. But for this to work, he would have had to move pretty quickly. If she was already walking out of the room and he came out of the closet and then he's gone over to turn the radio up, she probably would have already left the room by the time he got over there to attack her anyway. So we're back to her being willingly in her room with her killer. So just to reiterate what I think happened, I think she was in her room with the killer. She's gone to walk out. He's turned the radio up. He's attacked her before she's even got to the door. She's fallen face down with her head here and her legs here. He's on top of her to stab her again, and she's kicked a hole in the door. So what do you think? Do you think I'm onto something here, or am I totally delusional? Let me know in the comments, which I know you will, and I can't wait to read them. I'm going to go start the next video because I have just been inundated with information lately, and I can't wait to share. See you in the next one.